Hello, I'm Hal Lublin.
And I'm Mark Gagliardi.
Since the dawn of humanity, one issue has gone unsettled. With the fate of the world in the balance, we're here to settle, once and for all.
Best Fantastic Four member.
That's right. Don't worry, everyone. We got this.
Podcast should have a theme song. Podcast should not have a theme song. Yes, they should. No, they shouldn't. They sound good. Yeah, but people are just going to skip past it. You know what? You're right. We got this.
All right, Mark.
Yeah.
Now we're into comics. Your favorite thing that you know the most about.
Here's the thing. I don't know much at all about comics, but I feel like I'm having an extra childhood every time we do a comic book episode, because that's when I get to devour a stack of comic books.
Yeah.
And so it's fun to play. It's fun to be like, okay, let me call up fictional, never existed 8-year-old Mark and see what he's reading right now and see what story he wants to tell and listen to.
Yeah.
But I found myself inadequate to handle this, Hal. There's no way that just the two of us are going to be able to tackle something as big as, I mean, it's decades of comics. What are we going to do?
Well, I mean, if we're going to talk about the Fantastic Four, there should be 4 of us in here.
Yeah.
The Fantastic Four movie's coming out, which I'm very excited about. The 4th attempt at getting a feature film version. I feel like this one's going to stick. But filling out our 4 today are our producer, Ken Plume. Hello, Ken.
Hello.
And a returning guest, friend in real life and friend of the show, Scott Adsit, is back.
Friend of the show first, I must say.
Oh. Yeah. First the show.
Absolutely.
This is a professional friendship. We get it. 100%. But you have your Fantastic Four shirt. Is that your number one overall, like, comic book love?
You mean my shirt or the
Yeah,
Yes,
your shirt. Is that your favorite thing about comics, the shirt?
The FF is the comic that got me into comics.
Mhm.
A friend of mine named Alex Irvin had a comic collection called Origins of Marvel Comics. And they had the first 5 Stan Lee created comics in there from Marvel. And the first one is Fantastic Four. And that was the one that really caught me. That, and there's the Hulk, and then Spider-Man, and then Thor, and then Doctor Strange.
What caught you?
I think it was just the characters' interactions.
Mm-hmm.
I was 10, and it all made sense to me. I had read Superman and Batman before that, but this seemed different to me. And this is 15 years after the invention of the Fantastic Four, but it was the first time I'd seen them. And they were just alive and flawed and all the things you hear about them anyway. It was true. The cliche is true that they seem like a family. They don't always get along. It's really over the top. I mean, when they have an argument, they destroy the room they're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their practical jokes on each other are very dangerous.
But it was like a child's version of adult problems.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's something, I feel like we've talked about this before, that DC, especially in that Silver Age period, it's all aspirational characters that feels unachievable, but you enjoy them maybe on that level. And then Marvel, there's some reflection of yourself in different characters. You can find a version of yourself somewhere in that Marvel universe, and continues to sort of be the case today. Ken, you are one of the biggest Fantastic Four fans that I know, just like an encyclopedic knowledge and love of the characters. Where did that start for you?
A neighborhood kid. This was on base in Quantico, and their father worked at the Naval Hospital, and the Naval Hospital had a comic book subscription, and they would have them in the waiting room in pediatrics, and when they would cycle in the new issues, they would just send the old issues home. He would take them home to his kid who had no interest in comics, and so it became the local neighborhood barter of, hey, you want some comics for this? And so he gave me a bunch of Fantastic Fours that had been cycled through at that time. So the first that I remember, this is not that exact issue, but I do have that exact issue, is Fantastic Four number 258, which had an iconic cover of Dr. Doom's gauntlet tearing through the comic to the first page of the comic itself. And what's weird about it is the Fantastic Four are really not in the issue at all. It is a Doctor Doom story, but it was a couple of them. And it hit me. The original one has a do not remove stamp because it was an office copy.
Oh, that's great. What a nice detail.
That's a great issue to begin with, because first of all, it's John Byrne writing and drawing, and his artwork, like his writing, is so clean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so, what's the word? It's
very evocative if you're going to, and precise. Like, it conveys absolutely what is necessary to convey character, to convey scene. Like, my entire knowledge that I really needed to know about Doctor Doom as a villain or a character in that one issue. That one issue was an entire background for, oh, I understand. If he ever shows up again, or when he fights the Fantastic Four, I know what his position, where he's coming from, and what a unique and deep character this is, because that storytelling is just so precise.
And in today's market, it would be a 6-issue, 12-issue story. The same thing you read in that one issue would be played out over a full miniseries.
Yeah, and this was a weird little interlude to pick up on, but what a great thing as an intro to it, and leave you off intrigued to go see where it goes. So that was my intro to wanting to know more about, okay, well, now I know all about this Doctor Doom guy. Who are these Fantastic Four? That are not, it's
I love that it's one of those, that cover is so fun too, that it punches through to the next page like Grover's the monster at the end of this book. And it's a nice example of that John Byrne style, like just doing really fun and cool stuff. One thing that I found in going through this proverbial stack of comics was the one that he did just from the point of view of security cameras. The whole book is just from the point of view of the villain and the security cameras. And just cause sure, why not? Let's mess around with the art form. Pick it up, shake it up, and see what comes out.
And the Fantastic Four always did that. With Jack Kirby, he would do these photo montages, which never came out that good because they had to be in black and white. And then he would superimpose his very colorful drawings of figures on top of that. And it would be some wild, otherworldly dimension, which is really cool and made from whatever he had in the garage, pretty much. But it never quite gelled. It still was really like mind-blowing at the time. And John Byrne kind of carried that into the modern idea of the way the information gets to you visually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the Fantastic Four were these cosmic adventurers. And so you really got a sense that this was a unique world that or galaxy universe that they inhabited and could venture out to and adventure in, which was always the fun of the Fantastic Four, was that, here's this family that's out there exploring.
Yeah.
And encountering.
That's the difference. Spider-Man, Superman, they go on patrol, like beat cops.
Or reactionary.
But the Fantastic Four are looking for knowledge, and then they run into trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the foundation of how they got their powers, is the seeking of knowledge and exploration.
Sometimes the trouble is they're just running out of money.
Yeah, sometimes they have to go get jobs. Mark, do you have an approach to this? Because there are the 4, obviously, core members. There are a lot of people who've cycled in and out. What do you think?
Here's how I would like to approach this. I'm sure we can give mention to all of the ancillary people that have come in and been brief members of the Fantastic Four, like the She-Hulk run and assorted others. But I think that I would love for it to focus on the family, the core, the Fantastic Four, and a way to approach this. They're the first family of Marvel. So I'd love to look at 2 different things. We can pick which order we want to do it in, but look at them as people first, and then, or, not first. I say whatever order, and then I say, do this first. No, we, look at them both as the family and as the Fantastic. You know what I mean? We can look at their superpowers. We've had Scott on before. You've been on the show to talk about what is the best superpower. So we can look at Mr. Fantastic and Invisible Woman, Human Torch, and The Thing, and then also look at Sue Storm, Johnny Storm, Reed Richards, and Ben Grimm, and look at them as the family outside of the superpowers that they have. But I'd love for those to be the criteria that we're looking at, those 2 different elements. Maybe we can pull a winner out of each of those, and if it's the same person, it's the same person, or we can just go one character at a time and look at both elements.
I think those are feasible parameters.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're going to do a roll call of the Forgotten? Just very quickly go, none of these are going to be contention.
None of these are going to be it. But
I do
dive into a roll call of the Forgotten. Wow. That's a phrase I've never heard before.
Yeah. Before we jump into the in memoriam of all the members who will not win, I do think She-Hulk is a pretty significant. She always felt like a really significant member of the group, partially because of the work that John Byrne did to sort of flesh her out and make her a lot more of a character.
Yeah.
She just felt like there are a lot of people who've cycled in and out, Crystal, Medusa, like all these different people who have been members. Their kids, the Richards kids have both been Fantastic Four members. But there is something about She-Hulk that, to me, if I were to reach outside of those core 4, she would be the first person. She would be like 4A for me as a member. Do you, Ken, Scott?
Yeah, she's the 5th Beatle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And, she's a George Martin or like a stronger than a 5th. Like she's not a Pete Best. She's
no, she's not but she's not George Martin because she's not in charge.
She's like Billy Preston.
She's not
Yeah, she's like Billy Preston.
That's it. She's Billy Preston.
She came in and everyone was a fan of hers and they just watched her play
but
piano.
Just like Billy Preston, what was great is the maturity of John Byrne's writing when she became a member of the group. Meant that the book could reflect. She was a good way to get a sense of all of the characters and dynamics because she was new. She was introduced into this. It's like being dropped into a family. She was dropped into a family. Everyone's getting a sense of her. She's getting a sense of the weird dynamics that are going on amongst this family. And they're also all sort of, it was a nice little reflection of that family and dynamic to have She-Hulk be dropped into that in the way she was.
Yeah, she was a good audience representative for us new readers, which I was not at that point. But John Byrne always has this idea in his head, which is, I think, an old adage, which is every comic is someone's first comic.
And so I love that.
He tries to catch people up in a way in each comic to kind of fill in the gaps that might exist if this is someone's first time reading a comic book or this comic book, which doesn't really happen that much anymore. And She-Hulk was a great tool for that.
I would offer that I have all respect to She-Hulk. And I would offer that if we were going to do an episode of Best Hulk, there is a good chance that She-Hulk would win that episode.
Sure.
Okay.
So do you want to do the roll call of the Forgotten? Do you want to speed run it and just say all the names as quickly as possible?
How many can you guys rattle off?
Slow it down?
She-Hulk was the maximum of mine.
I mean, do you want me to speed run through everybody?
Do you want to just preface this by saying these are folks that maybe filled it in for a handful of issues, maybe just an issue, maybe not even barely an issue.
Right. Well, kind of like, radically in the 60s, Susan became pregnant and didn't want to endanger the fetus. So she sat out for how many issues it was, a year or something. And they had fill-ins come in while she was
she was on maternity
leave.
Yeah.
So here are, they're listed as recruits. They have been fill-ins, everything. I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. I'm just going to say names. Feel free to stop me if you like. Crystal Medusa, Luke Cage, Nova, She-Hulk, Miss Marvel / She-Thing, Ant-Man, Namorita, Storm, Black Panther, Powerhouse, Brainstorm, Flux, Spider-Man, Miss Thing, Moon Girl, Devil Dinosaur, Iceman, Jack of Hearts, and then new Fantastic Four team members, Hulk, Ghost Rider, Spider-Man, Wolverine, Sleepwalker, again, Powerhouse, and Brainstorm.
This feels like that poster that just has all the Marvel characters.
That's right. Yeah, this is the wedding of Deadpool. They're just all hanging out there.
So can we make a snap decision that the best member of the not core members of the Fantastic Four is She-Hulk and just be done with? So we celebrate She-Hulk and also
I'm happy
She-Hulk.
to celebrate She-Hulk.
Yes.
Did you guys watch the series?
Yes.
Good?
Yeah, loved it.
I haven't seen it.
I loved it.
It was fun, yeah.
Yeah.
And it borrowed a lot from what Byrne did in his storytelling, which was cool too.
Very cool.
And She-Hulk was interesting to bring in because she was a total left field choice. She was an Avenger, but she wasn't a really interesting one. She didn't have much of a personality to really define her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She was a copyright placeholder for the longest time.
Yeah,
it wasn't until Roger Stern came up with the idea that, oh no, unlike Bruce Banner, she likes being She-Hulk. That's like her hook into it.
Yeah.
Wait, so somebody else had the copy? Hold on a second. There was a copyright thing, like somebody had the copyright to the Hulk, and they were like, we'll just do a She version.
Marvel just went on a copyright bonanza of like, well, we have to create a Miss Marvel and a She-Hulk and a Spider-Woman, and so we have to secure all of these copyrights.
Gotcha.
And to secure them, you have to put them into print. So that was why all of these books sprang up and characters sprang up, and all these were registered.
I love the idea that something was created by the legal team just because they needed it. And then a writer went, oh, okay, I'll take that. Hang on. Let me make that interesting and cool. And it sounds like that's what.
Well, it's
John
the reason
Byrne
why
did.
Marvel has Captain Marvel and DC has to use Shazam.
Oh, they don't do Captain DC?
The character was originally Captain Marvel, and he said the phrase Shazam to become Captain Marvel. But then Marvel swept in and copyrighted Captain Marvel, and so you get Shazam as the name of the character.
Just a bunch of people fighting through lawyers. Ultimately, the real comic book battles are happening in the courtroom, everybody.
Spite law.
Get excited.
I just want to see like a panel of briefcases flying. Whoosh.
So
there are four
congratulations.
of them cutting through the cover of the book.
Crack. Yeah.
So congratulations to She-Hulk on her win within this episode.
Yeah.
Who do we want to start with?
I mean,
Let's start with Johnny.
Let's start with Johnny.
yeah, there we go.
Why'd you want to start with Johnny?
Because for me, he would be the least likely to win.
Okay.
I would agree with Scott on that.
I'm not against anything about Johnny. He's not real consistent.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that over the years, his personality has fluctuated between the young kid who's learned to mature and a total dick.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like a really like a narcissistic influencer guy now who just is in love with himself. And there's an element of that planted early on, but I think it has become his only trait, which is weird. Or he has to learn the same lesson over and over, which is to mature the hell up.
Is it just because each new writer that comes in wants to play with that arc of him going from vain to more selfless? Like, oh, yeah, let's back him up.
He's the one, if you're looking for a personality trait to hang on him and things to do story-wise, you can say, oh, he's the least mature. He's the immature one. He's going to be the hothead.
Mm-hmm.
Don't make the mistake that sets things off.
Yeah.
So he's the one, if you want to do an immature thing, you go to Johnny. That's your go-to of well, what's the closest to a kid we have on the team? It's going to be
But a talented
And
kid.
how old was he when they took him in that rocket ship?
I think he was 17.
16.
Yeah.
But
Was
a
he
great
16?
pilot.
I know he can drive because he was into hot rods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like I have to defend Johnny here. He was turned out to be a good pilot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Johnny's like a member of my family. Don't get me wrong.
Let me ask you this about that member of your family then. Let's talk about when he met Dracula as a kid, or the amulet that led him to Dracula. I never heard mention any time. Was like, there was no point where Ben Grimm was like, you can't be a pilot, you're too young. That he was like, Ben, I found an amulet that led me to Dracula. Like,
Well, here's where we get to the deep retcon hole that is just comic books in general.
okay.
I want to preface this, Scott, by saying I provided
Obviously, I found the
a lot
shiny
of
objects.
modern overviews of the history of characters to Mark for his research.
Yeah.
So
Who's
a lot
asking
of
the
things,
right questions? You're asking all the right questions, Mark. 100%.
Thank you. I'm curious. Well, this one had me curious. I thought, how much of the canon is Johnny? Like, Johnny, sit, know your place. Fine. No, I know. I'm at Dracula. You're still here.
my sister's in S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, I mean, he saved the universe a bunch on his own. So Dracula, it's interesting. I don't think it's what he would open with.
At 16, before he started saving the world?
Are you saying there's a retro story where he met Dracula
as a kid?
before he?
Yeah, where he finds an amulet. They should have done it like Stand By Me, like you want to see a dead body that comes to life at night and drinks the blood of people.
Do you want to see a vampire?
But Mark, you've stumbled into the trap of comics now through this long view. Is the original really what you know about him in that first issue is like he's 16 or 17 years old. He loves hot rods, but he's also smart enough to go through all of Ben Grimm's tests to like, if you want to be on the ship, I'm going to put you through all this training. And then he does it all really, really well. So he earns his spot on that ship. But later on, in the ensuing years, I think what you're referring to is maybe from the 90s or even maybe later, they go back and go, all right, what's more backstory for these characters?
Yeah. The art definitely had more shading.
Yeah, the tapestry extends backwards and all of a sudden becomes, oh, do you know he met Dracula when he was young?
Yeah, this is some Scooby-Doo level retconning.
Right. So it throws that in. Johnny's a really interesting character. I mean, it makes sense. He's the hothead. So, of course, he turns into flame. He has the showiest of the powers and wields it that way. But there's also a deep insecurity, like behind everybody who has that much bravado. And I feel like every relationship he's in falls apart. His marriages fail if he can get that far. So there is an intense amount of failure around him as well. And like all four of them, he will ultimately do the right thing and values that core family. They all love one another. So he's not a bad person, but he is the most obnoxious member of the group for that. He's also changed a lot. I feel like there are times where he's been way younger, or they've at least drawn him way younger, which always feels weird to me. Like he feels like he should be 17, 18, 19, having those powers. That makes more sense in my head.
Well,
I think that's the ideal. That's where everyone's head is. But then, he's been around for 60 years. So I think there's a need to progress him, but then they'll just kind of just take a step back. I think when John Byrne took over in whatever it was, 82, is that right, Ken?
Yes. 81 or 82.
He stepped him back a few years, just artistically. He looked thinner and shorter and younger, but there was no comment was made about that. It just became purer to the original version of him.
He was essentially writing him like immediately post-college.
Right.
Is the vibe that I got.
Yeah. I'm more talking about there's some where it looks like he's 12.
Yeah.
Like there's
some of that's just down to artist. It's just down to art.
It's just me that like
this is what a 16-year-old looks like, right?
He's also got a nephew who's a teenager now. So
yeah,
I think I get it. I was at the bar mitzvah.
A weird sliding scale.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else we want to talk about for Johnny Storm? Well, actually, okay. We've talked about the guy and his human qualities. Let's talk about the power that he has. That superpower is, that's a couple of superpowers in one once he starts flying.
Yeah.
Flame on.
And he controls heat as well.
Yeah.
He can throw flames. He can throw balls of flame. He can, in a couple issues early on, he made cages out of flame that people could not get through. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because they get burned.
Yeah.
And he's got the Nova boom or whatever it's called.
Oh yeah.
His Nova flame.
No, he's got really incredible superpowers.
He can also draw the heat out of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's got anything thermal he can do pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And
he can lower the temperature really of an argument.
It's hard to have him like in a room standing next to people when he's on fire. I guess his family would be used to it because he can control, to a millimeter where the heat goes.
Where the radiation.
So he's not going to burn anybody
heat.
Standing next to.
Right. But nobody else knows that as well.
Yeah. Exactly. So if you're at a party with him and he just flames on and by the punch bowl, people they forget to draw people being absolutely horrified.
A giant open flame in the middle of this room, and I have rayon sheets. This is great.
And I've read about this, but I'm looking at a man who's on fire.
Right.
I've seen it on the news, but here he is, a man standing in front of me who's on fire, and
He's also a novelty lighter because he's lit a lot of cigarettes and cigars and candles. Sure. That's another one of his things that he's really keen on.
He's always the birthday candle guy. If he goes in the kitchen at the birthday party, the cake is about to come out. So stay close by so you can get the picture.
He said he was going to the bathroom, but I saw him going to the kitchen.
He went in the kitchen. I know. Somebody was running through giggling.
Yeah. Oh,
there's
the candles won't go out.
Sorry, there's a great trope that happens or has happened a few times, which is he'll be flying and then somebody will hit him with a fire hose in the air and he'll start plummeting toward the city streets. And there's just nothing he can do. It almost knocks him out. He just starts falling. And then he's suddenly caught by Reed, who has stretched himself across between two buildings.
Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And he catches on this rubber band of a man. And that's happened, I think, 2 or 3 times over the course of the thing. That's
sometimes swapped out with the invisible woman
for me.
Making an invisible cushion.
Yeah.
Just if you want to change it up.
As a power, as much as there is to the power, it also requires a lot of concentration to make sure nobody gets hurt. If he has to save somebody and carry them, he has to make sure that the hand he's carrying them with is not on fire. Like there is a lot of precision to it, and it's a huge responsibility. So as immature as he is, the fact that he isn't constantly and by accident torching children and adults alike is a credit to the person. Like the person can control the power, right? Like you give that to, depending on who has it, that could go a lot of different ways.
I'll make one last thing before we dismiss Johnny.
Mm-hmm.
And for comic book nerds, you can look it up. Johnny was also instrumental in dealing with Galactus in Galactus's first appearance. So I'll leave it at that. But he was instrumental in a very key component of that.
Also, he's super into X Games and he's a great snowboarder.
There you go.
If the movies are anything.
Yeah, there's something.
There's something in there.
I liked Chris Evans' version of the character.
Chris Evans was great. Having watched that recently after seeing him for years as Captain America, to see him play a hothead is really fun.
And then he came back and played Johnny Storm again in Deadpool and Wolverine.
There you go.
Yeah. So
all right,
good.
Shall we move on to Johnny Storm's sister, Sue?
Well, let's take a quick break first.
Okay.
And then let's come back and we'll talk about Sue. So listen to this, and then when we come back, the Invisible Woman will appear in your ears. Uh-huh.
Hey, I'm Alan McLeod, the host of Walking About, and I'm here with Adam.
Hello.
As a member of the month, you're the member of the month, you'll be getting a $25 gift card to the Maximum Fun store.
Holy moly.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait.
Thank you so much for supporting this show and the network.
Happy to do it.
What made you decide to become a member?
I just said, these people give me so much entertainment and joy and fun in my life. I gotta I gotta support them somehow. The outpouring of love and support that these folks, I mean, they made me Maximum Fun Member of the Month, for crying out loud. If you want this stuff to keep going, then support it.
Well, so nice to meet you, Adam.
Thank you very much, everybody. Keep up the good work. I mean it. I'm not just blowing smoke.
Become a Max Fun member now at MaximumFun.org/join.
Good evening. Thanks for tuning in to 101.1 Max Fun. It's midnight here on Host to Coast, and we've got Sarah from Michigan on line 1.
Hi, I'm calling in for some help. I used to love reading, but between grad school, having kids, and the general state of the world, I can't seem to pick up a book and stick with it anymore.
Sarah, this is an easy one. Just listen to Reading Glasses, a podcast designed to help you read better. Bria and Mallory will get all the pressure, shame, and guilt out of your reading life. You'll be finishing books you love in no time.
Great, that sounds amazing. Also, I do think my husband is cheating on me with Mothman. Can you help me with that one?
Ooh, I don't think they cover that. Reading Glasses, every Thursday on Maximum Fun.
Okay, Sue Storm, the older sister of Johnny, who essentially raised him, the most overlooked and probably underrated member of the team. Of course, her ability is turning invisible, but also generating invisible force fields. Again, very precision. Like, her power set kept expanding over the course of the comic books, from like, I can protect you, to I will create invisible shields and cut off your blood flow and kill you if you don't give me information or if you don't do what I want you to do.
Yeah, she was the one who took down the Hulk the first time they fought the Hulk by putting a force shield around his head, and he stopped breathing and he eventually passed out.
She's done that several times to lots of different supervillains, whoever they're battling in a scene. So often they're completely disabled by her. Like, she's the best defensive player on this team, with the ability to just, nope, your rays can't get to me. Anything that she can put in that force field. Also, another fun one is as a person who can be invisible, I want to make sure I got the right phrase, can see omnipresent cosmic rays, which means she can see other invisible things, which I think is very cool. I don't know if that includes ghosts, Sixth Sense style.
She could see Dracula.
She could see Dracula.
Johnny will take her there.
Yeah.
Well,
Johnny could see Dracula. She could see him in a mirror.
No, that's true. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
She could see.
Yeah, Dracula can't sneak up on Sue Storm.
So would she not be able to tell if somebody's a vampire because she just sees a reflection in the mirror when they look? Like, everybody else is like, it's a vampire. Like, no.
Well, points against.
See. Yeah.
Oh,
a weakness in the power set.
Let me ask you this. Which skills that she honed as an actor in her early years in Hollywood come into play as a superhero and a mom?
Well, she has a great fashion sense.
True. Mm-hmm. Made the suits.
She's also, depending on the artist, has great just social fashion sense. She's a fashion plate.
Yeah. And she's good on a mic, good in front of a camera, good at being a celebrity.
Yeah. Also the most level-headed and diplomatic of all of the members as well. I'll say the most mature. Yeah. Absolutely the most mature.
The most empathetic.
Just across the board, the most mature of all of them.
Yeah. Also willing to stand in her power. Like, she reaches a limit, and then when you reach that, like, you don't want to cross her line because you will hear about it and it will be really bad. She might even take on a new persona. Like, you don't know what will happen, but she's also the protector of the group. There's a reason why she can create those shields, but also outside of that, she's looked out for Johnny since they lost their parents. She's certainly a caretaker for Reed, who, for all the things he can do socially, is inept. And also, like, she has to sort of keep that group together, because all of these interpersonal dynamics are, even though they care for one another, are combustible. Any of them could break the group up. So she really is responsible many times for keeping the group, like, together and on the same page.
Yeah, I think if they lost her, that would be the biggest blow they could lose. You know, that would be the one that would make them fall apart. She has been replaced by Crystal and by Medusa, but if they lost her, if she died or something, I think the whole thing would fall apart.
Yeah, but even in those times when she was out of the group, the dynamic became unstable amongst those that remained without her there.
So she's the glue?
Yeah, or the keystone that supports this family. You know, I certainly would see them drifting apart if not for that sort of stabilizing influence. And also the one who can talk honestly to all of them and have them appreciate what she has to say and her perspective on the situation. Whereas Johnny might not do that with Ben, or vice versa. When Sue says something, they listen.
Mm-hmm. So then here's a question. If Reed, I would definitely call the quarterback of the Fantastic Four. Would you say it's that
I'm not getting
you
these
could make
references at all?
You
know what a quarterback is.
Or the field general, whatever it is. Do you think you could make a strong argument that the Invisible Woman is the actual leader of the Fantastic Four? Even if she's not outwardly pointing people where to go, because of how essential she is to them staying together and maintaining their sort of fabric as a team?
Wait, I think it depends on Reed's mood. Mm-hmm. Because Reed can be very emotional sometimes, and it kind of like dismantles him because he doesn't like emotions that much. He doesn't need them. And so when he is feeling good about himself or whatever's going on, then he's a good leader. And if he feels guilty about something about Ben or about his responsibility for something awful that's happened, then she has to be the leader. She has to pick him up. And, generally she's the strongest member of the group that way. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And she has been the leader when Reed was missing, but I think she defers to Reed over the years. And I think now I would say, I'm not sure how long, but I would say that they are co-leaders now. They're the parents of the group.
Yeah.
Instead of like the quarterback and the coach or whatever.
One of my favorite things was that monologue that she had from John Byrne, from his pen, when she says, I'm the Invisible Woman. She goes from being the invisible girl to the Invisible Woman. Do you think they wrote her differently, or he wrote her differently after that? Talk to me about her evolution into this. Like, did she get more and more responsibility as more and more of these powers showed up?
I think Byrne always wrote her more mature, and that Invisible Girl was just an unfortunate artifact of the early 60s creation of the character and what characters were named at that time.
Yeah.
And that transition was just hey, we're rebranding, but he had been writing her mature since taking over the book.
And thank goodness they changed that they went back and fixed some of the past, because Sue Storm is kind of the reason that this whole thing happened to begin with, because they weren't going to do it until she said, and I quote, we could do this. We could create this. We could go and explore space and learn all this stuff. Quote, unless the commies beat us to it. Would she have been on the House Un-American Activities Committee?
No, she would have been ratting people out to them. She had a list of everybody in New York who was a suspected communist.
Yeah,
she turned it in. Dracula was on the list.
Yeah.
Thanks to Johnny doing her dirty work for her.
Of course.
Known communist, Count Dracula, brought before, said he couldn't even see himself in the monitors. Only she could see. It was very sad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Again, as with all comic book stuff, there's a lot of artifacts from the time, and most of those have been adjusted as time has gone on and origins have been recounted. So I would not hold her to a statement that has been replaced by by lore since then.
I feel like every version, she's the one who convinces Ben Grimm to go on the flight, because he's the one who has reservations. Like, oh, maybe it isn't shielded against cosmic rays. That's the reason they're scrubbing this. She's like, what are you, coward?
Yeah.
Basically uses the Marty McFly method of egging him into it. But she and Reed share a tremendous amount of guilt for everything that Ben goes through, because he was the one who was pushing for them to do it. She was the one who convinced him to do it. Mm-hmm. So, he bears a larger sort of guilt for changing all of their lives, even though they've done this tremendous amount of good.
Yeah.
So she also, she knows how to motivate or manipulate, depending on your point of view, these people. I think she's responsible with it. But in that moment, it was important that they go do this thing. So she's going to do whatever she can to make it happen.
Yeah. Before we get to our last two, quick question. If each of them has a tragic flaw, what do you think their tragic flaw would be?
Do you want to save this for when we've discussed all four?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
We'll talk about all four.
Do you want to move to Reed?
Let's go. Well, I was going to say, you just mentioned Ben. We could talk about Ben, or we could jump to Reed.
We
Scott,
did talk a little bit more about Reed already.
Well, let's talk about Reed.
Let's talk about Reed.
Yeah.
All right.
Smartest man one of the smartest people in the universe.
Yep.
Before
18 doctorates.
Yeah.
They give those away.
18 doctorates.
He invented 3 of them.
Yeah. That's not a thing. Yes, it is. Stretchy is a thing. All right, fine. You have a doctorate in stretchy.
Yeah. One of them's from a different dimension.
Yeah.
God, these dimensions.
Negative zone doctorate. I don't think this works. But oddly, from Colgate. All right. Didn't know they had that. track. Yeah, he's super smart. As smart as he is, I don't know if it's doesn't pick up on social cues or just doesn't have time for it because everything is calculation, and he cares more about what he can see and solving problems than he does. Like everything else sort of gets in the way, which is why in the larger canon, he doesn't want to be around Sue Storm when he has feelings for her because she's distracting him. When he's around her, that's all he can think about. And he needs to do his work because he's trying to make the world a better place because of his time pirate dad.
Yeah, he does tend to lock himself up in the lab and stay in there until he's got a really good 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
Or he'll just invent a pocket dimension where he can go and work without having lost any time with his family.
Yeah, I think in today's framing that you would say that Reed was on the spectrum and that there's a hyper focus that Reed has. And that there is, that there's certainly he processes emotions differently does not mean that he is uncaring. I mean, when people try and put that on him, that he doesn't care or that he's somehow focused on.
He's not Spock and he's not a robot. He's just focused.
Yeah. So I think he has a deep well of emotion and devotion and care for his family. And, it's coupled with this immense genius that he has and this hyper focus that, he very much is. It's set on a project. He's going to work on that project till he finishes that project. And the idea of getting there and that being attainable, that's obviously a thing that has caused a bit of friction with, his attempts to cure Ben Grimm over the years and being unable to do that and the stumbling blocks and the reasons that have come out in various ways and retconned and reestablished. But the idea that, there's some problems you can't solve and that being a sticking point for someone who is hyper-focused on being able to approach a problem and try and work towards what he feels. My always thought was that Reed always felt that there was a solution for everything, that you just had to work towards it and focus enough on it. And I think it's a frustration when he can't arrive at that solution because, in a rational, logical existence, somehow something in some way might not be easy. It might require the bending of physics, whatever machination to get there, but you should be able to work towards solving a problem. And sometimes that problem is just interpersonal relationships and how to juggle that when you can be focused. But again, I think he's very caring and very loving for his family and has a deep well of love and respect for them.
And he started out, I think, as kind of a prototypical 1950s B-movie scientist guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who is cold and pipe smoking and just very technical. And they've allowed him to grow and become, 2.5 dimensional. And
it's pretty good.
That's why he's genuinely my favorite member.
Yeah.
Because of the growth you've seen?
Yeah, because he's also, his superpower, the stretching is secondary to his true superpower, which is just his mind.
Mm-hmm.
It borders on magical because he just invents, he needs something. He goes in the lab and comes out in a half hour with this Jack Kirby device that does whatever magical thing they needed to do.
There's a good fabrication studio in there, too.
I love that. Yeah,
something's happening in there. I don't know who's doing it.
Every other weekend, Ben tears it all down, too, just because, Johnny made fun of his feet.
I think it's interesting to look at, because you mentioned Sue Storm being in many ways the leader of the group, but in a purely physical sense, Reed's also the leader of the group because he's the money, he's the backing, he's the Baxter building, he's all of the everything inside there.
It's all the patents.
All the patents and everything. Mm-hmm. He's also the leader in the story because he's the only one for whom the connection to the rest of them, all roads go through Reed. You know what I mean? Johnny's his brother-in-law. Sue Storm is his partner and wife. And Ben is his best friend and roommate from college. So he's definitely the center of that wheel.
But he doesn't he has a business sense. He doesn't have he doesn't have that focus on the everyday things to hold things together.
Mm-hmm.
In my best comparison, if you're compared to like a company, he would be the person you go, oh, you're the chief creative officer. That's your focus. You're not going to be the money person. You're not going to be the one who's running day to day. Everything would fall apart because your focus just isn't on the grounded things that keep a thing together and grounded.
It's not
you never see anybody in the Baxter building. You never see anybody but those 4 people and maybe a nanny here and there.
Yeah.
In the Baxter building.
Robot secretary.
Taking care of the finances and the press and things like that.
Herbie.
All the office things.
It's just Herbie and Roberta. It's Herbie and Roberta doing everything.
It's just a couple robots. That's what he would do. He would invent something. He's like, what's interesting about Reed is not only does he invent a bunch of Deus Ex Machina, but he is the Deus Ex Machina for Spider-Man when he's struggling with the symbiote. He goes to Reed and Reed's like, oh, here's a weapon you can use. And that's what he has to use to defeat the symbiote or separate from it. And eventually create venom in the process. But, he is someone that other people come to when they have problems. The role that in the MCU has been filled more by Doctor Strange, or even Tony Stark, who are these super smart people. He is the smarter of the super smart people, which is why it makes sense that all three of them would be in the Illuminati with Black Bolt and all these, he is so smart that he has created this council of people to try to protect everything, including going into alternate timelines to try and figure out how things are going to end and how he can best protect. There's no limit to how he can solve a problem because there's no limit to the strength of his mind or his relentlessness in solving problems, which can blind him sometimes to the emotional collateral damage, like turning the three people closest to him into freaks. They all have these powers and they figure out what to do with them, but it's not like they're all super jazzed right away, except for Johnny. Well, I mean, especially
himself.
Ben.
They all get transformed.
Including himself. But more, I think he bears more guilt for the other three than he does for himself.
But I think because he is a good partner and friend and member of this family, why that guilt exists
for sure.
And persists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And that's a positive, as weird as it is. He cares that much that's something he carries around. I think there's a version of that character somebody might write where they're like, well, you all have powers now. It's great. He doesn't really think about it because the positive.
And that version has been written.
That version's been written, but the positive outweighs the negative. So if you're looking at it purely from a mathematical perspective, he did the right thing, even though it had unintended consequences, because in the grand scheme, they've done more good than harm. But he still is a human being. He still has those feelings, especially for Ben, who maybe we should shift to.
Yeah.
Who has the biggest struggle of anybody because he goes from a good-looking, hotshot pilot to a monster. He can't turn off his powers as much as he's tried and has succeeded at some points in the comic. But part of his overall story is he has become this freak.
Yeah.
And it has destroyed he has to build a brand new version of his life where nothing is made for him.
Yeah, Ben is a fascinating character to me because he also got some pretty fantastic late-term retconning when he became a pilot down in Southeast Asia after his football days in college, where as a pilot, he was basically Forrest Gump in that through his adventures as a pilot, he met and helped out, Logan.
Dracula.
Okay. Logan. Fury. Tony Stark. Carol Danvers. And all of them fighting against Black Widow.
Oh, so he was in Air America with Tony Stark.
Yeah. That's right.
They were all in Air America. Yeah, he was able to make that one incline that's right on that mountain there that no pilot can make that one. But he had a crazy backstory. And then moving forward,
he eventually had a crazy
backstory.
Yeah.
This is look, I am new to this. So my version of Ben Grimm never wasn't Forrest Gump, and also never later on didn't fight Blackbeard. And because he put on the costume of Blackbeard, the person that everyone knows as the fearful legend Blackbeard is in fact Ben Grimm.
Well, because that's Lee and Kirby. Now I know that Scott's going to have to go with you on the Blackbeard thing.
Well, that's true.
Yeah,
he is.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah,
everybody knows.
Yeah,
that's I mean, whether he inspired John Lennon to write Imagine, that's debatable.
Sure,
but he certainly was Blackbeard the pilot.
Yeah, you didn't see that black and white footage of him where he just kind of leans in on John Lennon and whispers in his ear
when he was also the fifth Beatle.
Yeah,
he's too Sutcliffe.
Here's the difference, I think, between Ben and Reed and Johnny and Reed, which is Reed has an arc where he's learning things about being more loving or being more attentive. And he has taken those things on board and has evolved. And the other two, Ben and Johnny, kind of have to cycle back to square one almost every creator, every new creative team comes on. Mm-hmm. They have to kind of bring it back to square one so they can do what we love about them again and cycle. And I think Reed is someone who has actually evolved and taken on board all the lessons he's learned.
So the learning of the lessons is the fun part of Ben and Johnny. And the version that already has evolved is the better version of Reed. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah.
That makes sense.
I think Reed is a better man now than he was. He's not a real person, but he's a better man now than he was in 1961 or 5. And Ben and Johnny are essentially the same characters they were back then. I mean, they've gotten married and Ben has kids now and all that, but they're essentially, Ben will still get angry at someone else and pick up a car and throw it into a building because he feels slighted by something.
Or just mope. He'll go and mope for a bit. He'll get in his
or
feels.
Both.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Is it possible the reason for that, especially in Ben's case, because I think he's such an interesting sort of tragic character, but also like real fun, like the one you would probably most want to hang out with? Because he's just like a guy from back in the neighborhood, was mixed up in gangs when he was a kid, and then figured out to sort of walk the straighter path.
Oh, they give him nothing but trouble back in the neighborhood.
Like, it feels, it's up to no good. That character is so good that you can keep going back to that well and see maybe somebody else's different version of it. And there isn't a ton of growth there. I agree. But is part of that like Reed catching up as a character, that people going, oh, this character deserves a little bit more. He's not just father knows best with the pipe and sweater and a chalkboard full of equations. There's more to this character that we need to add. So he's sort of caught up maybe to where Ben was. I think Johnny maybe is a little bit more of on a treadmill. Like, it's a shorter treadmill than Ben has to run, if that makes sense.
I think Ben's always been the most emotionally interesting from the start of all the characters and has remained consistent.
Because he's the most tragic.
Yeah, he's Joe.
Yeah.
But not just his tragedy. I think he was always also just sort of the entry-level average guy in the group. He was the average schmo that was coming in and would call out Reed on his big brain stuff, or, just want to go have a burger, or just want to have a quiet night, just go play some poker, just relax, enjoy all this stuff. I think he was the entry level character for just an average person. Like, if you're stuck in this thing and you become this and you're in this group, how do you make the best of a bad situation? Like, he's the Lemonade character in the Fantastic Four.
And we need him to psych. We need him to do that. We need, there's a reason to come back. If he learns something and changes too much, he's not what we came for.
Yeah.
Right.
So he has to psych.
Yeah.
All right. Here's how I want to take, now that we've talked about all of these characters, before we make an ultimate determination, and I'm curious because, again, you guys know these characters a lot more than I do.
You know the Dracula stuff.
Look, I know. The thing is, for me, because I just dove into this, all things are equal. And some of the stuff hasn't been canon for long, but hey, man, it's in there. He's
Canon
the Forrest
canon.
Gump. Canon is canon. We know what the 4 superpowers are, right? We didn't talk about Ben's superpower. He's very strong. He can fight the Hulk.
Very strong, close to invulnerable.
Yeah.
His impenetrable skin.
Very, very, very tough. He's the very tough man.
Feels no pain on the outside. Feels it all on the inside.
Oh.
He's a New Yorker.
Yeah, he's a New Yorker.
He's a New Yorker.
I mean, look, you don't run the Yancey Street gang after your brother's death. Was that also newish?
No.
And they fought Dracula.
Yeah, that's a little, yeah.
Those are the superpowers that we know that each of these characters have. Human Torch, Invisible Woman, Mr. Fantastic stretches out. We didn't actually talk about his very much. He stretches out in all directions.
Yep. Changes shapes.
Yeah. Can slither into and around and under and over things. What would you say?
Well, there's some, let me just say that some people feel that it's the 4 elements. Reed being water, Sue being air, earth, and fire.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
I see that.
Yeah, I love that. So those are their elemental superpowers. I wonder, actually, then, what would you say their human superpowers are? If each of them had one human superpower.
Intelligence for Reed.
Sure.
Empathy for Sue.
I would
confidence
say
for Johnny.
Yeah.
Right?
And heart for Ben.
And heart for Ben.
Heart.
Yeah. Heart, reliability.
Loyalty.
I mean, he literally is their rock.
Yeah, but I would put Sue as like the emotional bedrock of the group over Ben.
I do love the intelligence. What'd you say for her? Her compassion?
Empathy.
Her empathy.
Maybe compassion's better. Compassion.
Johnny's confidence.
Yeah.
And Ben's heart. So now, if we had a tragic flaw for each of them, what would it be?
The same things, Mark.
The same things, man. That heart is a tragic flaw.
Yeah.
And Dracula's.
Reed would be his emotional unavailability. Shame about that.
Yeah. And his sort of tunnel focus on working problems that sort of leads him to ignore maybe some of those more emotional impacts until it's too late.
Johnny's immaturity.
Ego.
Ego.
Yeah. Ego.
Sue?
No, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't put to an obvious critical flaw in Sue.
That is a
She cares
very
too
interesting
much.
thing to note. She cares too much. That sounds like in a job application. Well, my biggest weakness is I come to work too early.
Yeah, I'm a workaholic.
And for Ben?
He's got anger issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anger and depression. I mean, I think those walk hand in hand with him.
Let me ask you this then. Looking at our 4 superpowers, our 4 human powers, and our 3 tragic flaws, do we have a member of the Fantastic Four who rises to the top?
I'll go first because the guests, I think, have more weight. I'm a big Ben Grimm fan. I love all 4 of them. The reason why I like Ben above everything else is the fact that he's Jewish. And I mentioned at the very beginning that we are looking for things that we see in other people. And there aren't a ton of Jewish superheroes, more now than there were. So for him to be Jewish, which is a reflection of the people who created him, that was a big deal for me growing up to see him like with a tallis and a yarmulke. As weird as that is to see it a big rock guy, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like there's something I connected with there on a very personal level that keeps me close to that character.
Ken?
Well, I see Ben as the mascot of the Fantastic Four. Like visually, he's what represents the Fantastic Four for me. If my first thought, I'd probably go Invisible Woman as like the one that embodies everything that is great about them, and probably the strongest power set. If you're looking at the power sets, Reed's I would separate his intelligence because that he didn't get that in the cosmic rays.
No.
So I would go Invisible Woman for me.
Scott?
I'm going to go with Reed. This is a perfect show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think he's the most dynamic. I think he's the most... I mean, I would say Sue is more reliable, but there's something really... I think it's just because I have daddy issues.
Well,
but I really like Reed. If Reed's not in the comic, then there's... it's not as interesting to me because of who he is. He's an instigator. He's the one who says, we got to go out and discover this.
Yeah.
He's the person who solves the problem generally, and he's the one who will bring the most humor for me because of his awkwardness or because of his lack of self-knowledge. They'll make fun of him. He will realize that it's just fun to have him be the funny one, even though he's the least funny one.
Right.
Yeah. Well, guys, look, normally we will go for an hour and we will determine what we are trying to determine on this show, which is, in this case, who is the best member of the Fantastic Four. But it looks like we all have a different member in mind, which how this episode began with just the 2 of us, and we had to add 2 more so that we could do this. But now we're in a real pickle, so what are we going to do about it?
I think what we're going to do is force you to wait, because our next episode, we're going to be joined by John Byrne, legendary writer and artist. We will get to the bottom of this because we are deadlocked. This has never happened. This is the first time an episode has ever ended in a deadlock, and that's the only way we're going to break it. So stay tuned for the next episode.
Well, there you have it. This topic is not settled. There are many more topics to discuss, though. Even though this one isn't settled, there are topics that we will settle. And you can send us those topics by reaching out to us via email at wegotThisPodcast@gmail.com, or
find us on social media at We Got This Podcast, with the exception of Instagram, where we are at We Got This Show. Not my choice. Somebody stole our name. Thank you to producer Ken Plume, researcher Kate McManus, graphic designer Uri Kelman, and QA engineer Jen Alba.
And thanks, of course, to our musicians, Jonathan Dinerstein and Mike Furman, for our score and theme song, respectively. And thanks to you, the people of the world, for putting up with our first ever to be continued episode. Will we do more of them? Maybe. Who knows?
Cliffhanger.
Ooh. But it leaves me only now to say thank you. We wouldn't do this show without you. We couldn't do this show without you. This is always a blast when we have guests come on the show and chat with us. And it is all thanks to you and all the support that you've given to We Got This over the years. So to you, I say thank you, thank you, thank you. For Hal Lublin, I'm Mark Gagliardi.
For Mark Gagliardi, I'm Hal Lublin. And don't worry, everybody. We got this.
We got this.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows
supported
directly
by you.